The air inside the military checkpoint was cold and sterile, humming with fluorescent lights and low murmurs from nearby guards. Nothing unusual ever happened here, until that morning. A woman stepped through the sliding doors. She didn't look dangerous. Mid-40s, plain white t-shirt, olive green jacket, faded jeans and worn-out boots. No makeup, no jewelry. Her blonde hair tied back, face calm, unreadable. Sergeant Blake barely looked up from his desk. He saw the ID. She slid forward and smirked, motioning to Private Davis to handle it. Davis picked it up, squinting at the faded badge with an unfamiliar symbol in the center. Ma'am, he said, amused. This ID is either a joke or you time-traveled here from the 90s. Blake laughed. So did the guard in the back. Even the camera operator in the surveillance booth cracked a grin. The emblem looked official, but the design? Ancient, irrelevant. The woman didn't flinch. Scan it, she said flatly. Davis looked at Blake, shrugged, and placed the badge under the scanner. Nothing. Then a beep. Another. The screen blinked, glitched. A blue screen of code began racing across the monitor, fast and unreadable. The lights in the room dimmed. Radios cut out. The background hum of electronics faded into silence. A golden-blue emblem lit up on the screen. Blake's smile disappeared. Davis stepped back. What the hell? No one moved. The emblem rotated slowly like it was watching them. The woman didn't even blink. She leaned in just enough to speak quietly, with a voice colder than the steel desk between them. You're going to want to get your supervisor. They didn't laugh anymore. Captain Weller came down in under 60 seconds. That alone was strange. Officers of his rank didn't rush. He wasn't told much. Just that a woman's badge triggered something weird. He walked in briskly, nodded once at Blake, then turned to the woman. I'm told there's been a system error, he said. She didn't answer. Instead, she reached across the counter and calmly retrieved her badge from Davis's trembling hand. Then, without a word, she placed it back on the scanner. Weller rolled his eyes. Ma'am, we... The emblem lit again, brighter this time. The monitors behind her flickered, and the security feed froze on her image. All access doors on the floor locked simultaneously with a deep, echoing clunk. Weller stepped back, confused. This isn't a normal override. In the surveillance room above, analysts panicked. They had just lost live feeds, control over their own system, and radio contact with external command. One of them muttered, "What the hell kind of badge is that?" Down below, the woman finally spoke. "You don't have clearance to question me." Weller blinked. "Excuse me?" The lights dimmed again. A soft hum now vibrated from the walls, as if the building itself had been switched to a different operating mode. "I don't have time to explain who I am," she continued, her voice calm. "But the moment this emblem appeared, your chain of command changed." That's when two men appeared behind her. Clean suits, unreadable expressions. They hadn't come through the entrance. No one had seen them arrive. "Agent Monroe," one of them said with a subtle nod. "We're ready." Weller looked at them, then at her. "You're not here for access," he whispered. "You are the access." Upstairs, someone had finally called Central Command. Or at least, they tried. "Sir, the system's routing our call through an encrypted channel we don't control. It's rerouting back into our own network." That's impossible. So was what happened next. Across the entire facility, secure doors opened, not to let people in, but to let them out. Personnel from restricted wings quietly filed out with orders to clear the floor. No one made eye contact, no one spoke. In the surveillance room, one analyst turned pale as the emblem continued glowing on every screen. "I've only seen that seal once," he whispered. "It's from Project Recall." His partner looked confused. "Project what?" The first analyst didn't reply. He stood slowly, removed his headset, and walked out without a word. He knew something, and whatever it was, he didn't want to be part of it anymore. Downstairs, the two suited men led Agent Monroe past the counter. She walked with calm precision. The kind of walk that tells you she's done this before, more than once. Blake, Davis, and Weller stood frozen. The chain of command had dissolved without a single word from her. And the woman? She hadn't raised her voice, hadn't threatened anyone. All she had done was show a badge they thought was outdated, useless. But that badge was a key, and now everyone was following it. "She doesn't just have access," Weller finally muttered. "She rewrote the access protocol." One of the guards whispered, "So what's she here for?" No one answered, because nobody knew, but they were about to find out. Down a hallway lined with reinforced steel and retina-locked entry points, Agent Monroe stopped in front of a door that had no label. No keypad, no scanner, just a single, faint emblem embedded in the wall. One of the suited men stepped forward, placing his hand on the seal. The wall didn't open. It simply dissolved, digitally. The material dematerialized like mist in reverse, revealing a black corridor behind it. The guards watching from the upper floors weren't even aware that section existed. Cameras didn't show it. Blueprints didn't list it. Inside the control room, one senior analyst leaned forward. "There's no record of this door." Another added, "That's not part of our base. That's under the base." As Monroe entered, the corridor lit up automatically, golden lines tracing along the walls in sequence, responding to her movement. Every light was coded. Every turn precise. Inside the mystery hallway, Weller's voice came back weakly through the intercom. "Agent Monroe, I need to know what this is." She didn't stop walking. "Want to know why your systems failed, Captain?" she said coolly. "Because they were built on top of mine." "What is this place?" he demanded. She glanced up at the ceiling. The last door they swore never to open again. Her voice echoed in the chamber like thunder. From somewhere far below, something clicked, something alive. The two suited men exchanged glances. "You're early," one said quietly. "I'm never early," Monroe replied. "They're just late." The corridor closed behind them. No one outside could follow. But everyone in the building now understood. Something forgotten had just been reactivated. And she was the only one allowed to go near it. 2 stories above, alarms remained silent. Not broken, disabled. The military base that once buzzed with overlapping systems, layered clearances, and alert tones now sat in an eerie hush. It felt hollow. One by one, terminals across the compound locked out their users. Not with warnings, but with a glowing symbol, the same one from Monroe's badge, now dominating the center of every screen. No one knew what it meant, but they all felt it. A shift in power, a forgotten command resuming control. Back in the restricted corridor, Monroe approached a final wall. Unlike the others, this one wasn't digital. It was real, old, covered in metal, bolts, and the etched symbol of an old intelligence division, one that was officially disbanded 23 years ago. She placed her hand on it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a sound like an old vault echoed through the tunnel. A seal hissed, and the heavy door opened inward, revealing a small room filled with analog tech, rotary dials, magnetic tapes, and a central chair facing a static-ridden monitor. "This is it?" the younger suited agent asked. Monroe nodded. "This is the origin point." He looked confused. "Origin of what?" Monroe stared at the static. "Of everything they tried to bury." Behind them, the door sealed shut. Back on the surface, Captain Weller stood frozen in the hallway, unsure whether to raise an alarm, call higher-ups, or simply walk away. Blake whispered, "Do we stop her?" Weller didn't answer. He knew one thing: you don't stop someone the system can't even track. Inside the sealed chamber, Agent Monroe moved like she'd been there before, because she had, decades ago, before the room was classified, sealed, and wiped from official records. She sat in the central chair without hesitation. The monitors flickered to life, not through any button or switch, but by recognizing her biosignature. Behind her, the younger agent stared at the outdated equipment. "This isn't a command center," he muttered. "It's a tomb." "No," she corrected him. "It's a failsafe." The room began to hum, low and rhythmic, like a heartbeat starting up after years of silence. Data began flowing in across ancient lines, encrypted pulses, forgotten frequencies. Back on the surface, all military radio frequencies went dark. Satellite uplinks scrambled. The entire base lost connection to global command. Analysts tried to trace the disruption, but all they saw was one phrase, looping in code: recall initiated. Outside the vault, the older agent checked his watch. "We're past containment," he said. "This can't be walked back." "We're not here to walk back," Monroe replied. "We're here to wake it up." Then the screen in front of her went black again, followed by a single phrase in a language only a few in the world could still read. Her eyes narrowed. "They thought it would stay buried," she whispered, "but it remembered me. The system asked for one thing, authorization." She spoke one word. The seal flashed. Somewhere, far outside that facility, dormant satellites blinked awake. This wasn't just a building anymore, it was a relay, and it had just been reconnected to something much larger, something only Monroe knew was still alive. On the surface, chaos brewed behind silent screens. In the control tower, technicians screamed silently at keyboards that no longer obeyed. Their hands shook as every emergency protocol bounced back with the same denial, insufficient clearance. "How the hell does no one have clearance?" someone shouted. The answer came not from a person, but from the system itself. A digital voice, unheard for 23 years, spoke through every speaker at once. Protocol recall overrides current hierarchy. Stand down. Captain Weller felt the words in his bones. His rank meant nothing now. Private Davis, still shaken from the scanner incident, looked around at the frozen terminals. What do we do? Weller didn't blink. Nothing. We don't touch anything unless she tells us to. The suits outside had taken position near all exits, no weapons drawn, but no one was getting in or out. In the chamber, Monroe stood again, the chair rotating slowly as if it too acknowledged her control. It's responding faster than last time, she said. The younger agent still didn't fully understand. What is it? Monroe looked him dead in the eyes. A protocol created when we realized the system we built could one day turn on us. You mean AI? No, worse. Untraceable command chains. Backdoors nobody remembers. This place was built to override even the override. The lights dimmed again. A distant sound vibrated through the walls, a signal being sent, a ping being answered. They're listening, Monroe whispered, and they remember who I am. In a secure room somewhere in Washington, D.C., 5 men in suits gathered around a red phone that hadn't rung in decades. Now it glowed. A 6th man entered, older, weathered, walking with a cane. He stared at the screen showing Monroe's emblem and sank slowly into a leather chair. She activated it, he muttered. One of the others leaned forward. That's impossible. She was removed from the system. No, the old man corrected him. She was the system. Another man added nervously, if she issued the recall, that means something's triggered the failsafe. The old man nodded. Then the question isn't whether we stop her. It's whether she still believes we're worth saving. Back at the facility, Monroe's hand hovered over a panel that hadn't lit up in 20 years. It glowed now. The emblem pulsed. 3 other sites just acknowledged handshake, the agent behind her said. They're awake. She didn't smile. This wasn't good news. It means they've been watching, waiting for a reason to come online. Behind her, the younger agent asked, why now? What triggered all this? Monroe turned slightly. You think this is about one base? She leaned in closer to the static-filled screen. This is about all of them. The chamber shifted again. Not physically, but the energy inside changed. The static on the monitor cleared to reveal a network map. It wasn't local. It was global. 17 black sites just responded, the suited agent said, awe in his voice. Most of these aren't even on record anymore. That's the point, Monroe replied. They weren't built to be remembered. The map blinked, and a phrase scrolled across, command vector accepted, awaiting final signal. Back in the facility, people stopped moving entirely. No one issued orders, no one made calls, everyone just watched and listened. The system had chosen a voice. And it wasn't theirs. The chamber's temperature dropped a few degrees. Monroe approached the final panel. You don't have to do this, the younger agent said. She glanced back. I do, she replied. Because I'm the one who told them this would happen someday, and no one listened. She placed her badge, her recall key, onto the final plate. A soft chime sounded. A green pulse swept through the network. From Antarctica to Berlin to a bunker in the Mojave Desert, every hidden node blinked once in confirmation. The world's last forgotten system was awake again, and it was waiting. Outside, Captain Weller stood at the entrance, watching the horizon. The sky hadn't changed. But something deeper had. The air felt thinner, anticipating. He turned to Davis. Whatever's happening, this isn't a threat. Davis looked confused. Then what is it? Weller exhaled. It's a reminder. In the chamber, Monroe received one final prompt, confirm legacy protocol, reclaimer. She closed her eyes and said her name. The emblem flashed white. Every forgotten satellite, underground server, off-grid command node recognized her. They didn't follow her out of fear. They followed because they were hers. Systems designed to survive corruption. Hidden operations meant to outlive governments. Silent guardians placed long before anyone knew they'd be needed. And now, the one person who understood them had returned. Outside, the screens went black. No alarms, no explosions. Just one last message across every military terminal in the world, Reclaimer Protocol, acknowledged. Then silence. Monroe stepped out of the chamber, her badge now dark. She looked at the agents beside her. It's done. What happens now? One of them asked. She paused at the exit. Now we wait. Either they rise to meet what's coming. She turned slightly, or I call them again, and just like that she walked out. No orders, no report, just a legacy reactivated, and a world quietly recalibrating itself around her presence.